to the US, and I remember the first concert I'd gone to when I was in sixth grade was a free concert by the Everly Brothers in
Right.
the parking lot of this mall. And so that was my first concert. The second one was Whitesnake.
Right.
And then after that, no, then Paul Simon. And then I started to see the Grateful Dead when I was 15 years old. And then everything changed. From then on, my life completely just shifted.
So the Grateful Dead you discovered by watching that concert, or you knew about Grateful Dead before that?
Well, it was around the time that In the Dark, the album came out, and they had a MTV music video. Have you ever seen that video?
I think so. Is that the one in the bar?
That's the one where they're on stage and then they turn into skeletons.
Yes. I think I've seen
Yeah,
that.
so I think that's the only proper music video for MTV that they had done, but that's when they started to get super popular among the younger generation of that time. But when I was 15, so that must have been in the 90s, just like 1990.
Right.
Or 1989. And I can't remember stuff so well with my numbers because I'm 46 and you know how things but so yeah, I had gotten into the music because of that music video, and I got the album. And then when I was 15, I got a summer job at Dairy Queen. And the Grateful Dead were having a show in Illinois. So I was living in Minnesota, and then they had a show in Tinley Park, Illinois. So a bunch of my coworkers from Dairy Queen and I decided to go, get into a car, go on a road trip, drive for about 8 hours, go there without tickets. And so we all just packed up in the car and drove over there and took our chances. And it was mind-blowing. I mean, I'd never seen anything like that before. Lines and lines of cars to begin with, just going to the stadium itself, because there's thousands and thousands of people that go to these shows.
Right.
And a lot of them are traveling across the country and just going on tour with them. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, all I knew was MTV and studio recording of one of their albums. That's all I knew. And arriving there and seeing all these hippies, tie-dyes everywhere. It's like a sea of tie-dyes all around, and music, and you could smell different things in the air, like incense and grass and sage, and everyone's with a great smile on their face and telling you that you're beautiful. And I was just absolutely shocked. There's this, and so we went without tickets, and this place was packed. There was no way we were gonna get into the show, not at all. So this is a really interesting story, because finally we see a guy that was selling tickets just while I don't know how much you know about going to Dead shows, right? And so if you don't have tickets, what you do is what we call it, we need a miracle, okay? A miracle. So you stick your finger up in the air like this, and you go up and down the street, and people know exactly what that means when you hold your finger up like this. There's people that with a sign that says, I need a miracle, right? And this is named after one of their songs. And so if very often when people have an extra ticket, that's what they'll do. They'll just give you a ticket. That's why it's called a miracle. You don't have to pay for it.
Right.
So, so me, I didn't even know what that meant. I don't know if I even learned to put my finger up in the air during my first show. But we did see a guy selling tickets. And so we ended up buying these tickets. And then, I don't know how much I should divulge, but at that time, I took something kind of psychedelic. And so So we get the tickets, and there we are. We're so excited when we're lining up, and there were so many people, like too many people, in fact, that at that, just as the show was starting and we're going inside the gate and we're holding the tickets, I see my fingers had ink all over them.
Right.
And then I'm freaking out, like, oh my God, these are fake, because already you could hear buzzing around with the people, the crowd waiting to enter the gates, that there were counterfeit tickets. And so then I look at my fingers and there was ink all over my fingers. And then at that point, people started freaking out because you could hear already that the Grateful Dead had started playing the show.
Right.
So people were still outside because these guys were really looking at the tickets to make sure that people don't get in with the counterfeits. So people got really impatient. They started pushing and shoving.
Right.
So there I was, this little 15-year-old Asian girl that had never been to a show like this before, getting moved around, squished around, and it was getting pretty scary at that time. And then finally, the people that were at the gates decided that it just wasn't worth it. You know, that it was getting pretty dangerous already at that point. So it wasn't worth it. They just started letting people in. And I was able to get in with my counterfeit ticket. I was like, woo!